Okay,
Good.
good. I
All
guess
right. We're good.
going. So it's such an honor. Tell Mark I said thank you very, very much
Of course, I will.
to be speaking with you. Um, so Intrigue Magazine. I have my things all nearby. Okay. So this is our mag. And let me see if I can find the issue. I did cover the event up in Boston as
Mhm.
promised. I should have dog tagged it or whatever. But I can't find it. Yeah, here it is. So here's a couple of
Oh,
pages.
nice.
That's
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna ask you a couple of quick questions. And then if it's okay with you, would I be able to send you some, email you some questions?
Yeah, if you like.
So, okay.
Yeah, whatever you don't get to today, or if you forget anything or following it up or whatever. Yeah, there we are.
I had to get this blown up and framed.
Right on.
Um, but it's such an honor. You were like my favorite musician. Um, so this is just such an honor for me, as it was when I was up in Boston and saw you at Berkeley.
Yeah.
Truly amazing to get to meet you and see you in your element and everything. All right, so because I know the Zoom thing's only like 40 minutes or so, and I don't want to kill too much more of your time, I'll just the particulars are the next issue of the magazine is the July-August issue.
Mhm.
That's when it'll come out, and I will make sure that you're on the cover. So I'll actually obviously I can't be in Los Angeles to do a photo shoot. So if you could send me, I'll send an email with some questions, but if you could also send me like some pictures.
Okay. All right. Well, we
Um,
can just put that in that email, and we'll send you we got a lot of, since I've been performing a bit, there's a lot of new
Yeah.
pictures that people haven't seen, and performance pictures. So
Okay.
that'll
Yes.
be cool.
So sidebar, are you? I think I asked you this when we were up in Boston, but are you coming this way anytime soon?
I certainly do want to. I don't have any concrete plans at the moment. There are a few things that are being talked about
Is it,
as
is
far
it,
as, being able to get out. I don't know if there's going to be some stuff that's going to happen before within the next couple of months or so, but we'll see.
okay, because when I spoke to you, I thought that you said you were interested in coming to the. When I say the area, anywhere between DC and Boston, I'm gonna be there. But I live
Yeah.
in New York, so Philadelphia,
Yeah. I'm down. Well, we are talking about some dates right now. So we're
Okay.
looking at probably no earlier than November,
Okay.
and try to do what we can before it starts to get really cold, and then after the first of the year, there'll be some stuff happening. So
Okay, because I've never seen you perform, and well, this will start the interview off. I'm an avid fan.
got it. You got everything.
uh, Almost, almost,
hmm
almost, but not. I don't have signature,
Ah,
and I don't have the one with hump on it and shout.
okay. Those were from the label from Prestige. Okay,
Yeah.
look at you. But you got that one, and that's a collector's item
Well, wait a
because
minute. I gotta tell you something about this.
hmm
I was living in Boston. I moved to New York in '96. I was born and raised in Boston. I was living in Boston when this record came out. I reached out to Syndrome Records and told them at the time I was working for Arista as a street promoter, send me the CDs. I will promote it for free. And went to I had to promote the Arista stuff, the LaFace stuff I was working. And I took the CD with me to all the radio stations, all the record stores, and promoted it. I was like, look, don't pay me, just give me the damn CD. I love Top of the Line was my favorite.
all right.
That was dope. All right, so I'll stop with all the fanfare. Or I'll try. I just think you're the best. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you.
And I'm gonna try to write quickly, but thankfully this is being recorded. All right. So my first question is, what was life like for Patrice Rushen before your first record deal?
Oh, well, the usual kind of thing, going to school,
Hmm.
public school.
Okay. You
We
were
had we had music in public schools back then.
right. Exactly. I know. Right.
So I was in a school that had a very strong, just happened to have a very strong music program.
What school was
And this was Locke High School, LOCKE, for Alain and Leroy Locke.
that? LOCKE High School
Hmm.
in
And
LA, right?
mhm,
Okay.
I think it was there that I really kind of, even though I had been, playing music most of my life, even up till then, it was the purpose behind it began to, it began to be something other than just fun. It was
Right.
something that had a purpose behind it. It was the way we learned certain kinds of things about our history, it was an all Black high school, by the way, at that time. So music was used not only as a means by which we were studying something within the fine arts, but also kept us off the street, and also offered us an opportunity to see how the music of African American culture in particular,
Mm-hmm.
uh, was very important for us to try to understand and hold in high regard, jazz and other forms of Black music that had become, you know, signature attributes of American music. And it was important for us to understand that and know that and take pride in that. And that, led us into a lot of different things about, history, and a lot of things about, obviously, about the nuances of the music and wanting to have a purpose and practice and
Right.
all of those kind of great things that came out of it. And there was no categories that were off limits as far as that was concerned, because that music had influenced and touched so many categories of American music.
So much knowledge I know that I can get from you. Just in general, I could talk to you for hours. What was it like? First of all, what was the first label you signed to?
First label I signed to was actually Prestige.
Prestige.
The Prestige label was part of the Fantasy label family up in Berkeley, California.
Okay.
And they had people on the label like Creedence Clearwater and like that, but they all in one part of the label, and in the other part of the label, Prestige had Sonny Rollins, they had Cannonball Adderley.
Wow. Okay.
They had Joe Henderson.
Wow.
There was a lot of people in that area, and where that label was not only had a lot of reissues, but they also had a lot of people. Charles Lloyd, there was all kind of folks. So,
what year was that you signed?
This was 73.
Okay.
I think. And
1973.
Mm-hmm.
You see what this hat says? That's you all day.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a small boutique kind of label, very small deal, but it was enough to help me with school. I needed some money, wanted some money to help me with college, because I was going to go to school. So it seemed like a safe bet, because I was resistant. I was very resistant to having a record deal and all of that. I didn't feel like I was artistically, like I was ready for any of that. I was still trying to learn stuff, and all of my favorite artists were really accomplished, and I felt like that's what you needed to be in order to have a label. I didn't feel like I had all of that, but they assured me and that the situation would allow for me to grow into the creative space and spaces that I felt I wanted to at some point occupy. And it turned out to be, a really great thing to continue to work at the professional level with masters, that I was in school, so I didn't go on the road with a lot of people, but in studio work, I got to work with quite a few people. So it was cool.
What was your first album release on Prestige? I should know this.
It was called Prelusion.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is that the one that I don't have?
Might be the ones I did three. I did three for them. It was three. I did Prelusion. And then there was Before the Dawn.
Before the Dawn.
And then there was Shout It Out.
That's the one that I really want to get.
That's the one that has the hump on it.
Yes, that's the one. That song, Sojourn. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Mhm.
I don't know. That does it. It brings tears to my eyes every time I hear it. But
Mm.
it's so damn beautiful. Mm. Was you excited? I mean, you signed your first record deal. Back then, a record deal meant something. Like, not like.
Well, yeah, of course. I was excited and a little apprehensive, and all of the mix of high emotions and fear that go along with anything that you are respectful of and want to do a great job and all of that. But I knew that the situation was going to work out okay, and I just had to put forth my best effort. And that's how I approach almost everything like that. I just put forth your best effort. Be about what you say you're about, and things usually they turn out okay.
Now, this next question, I know I'm interested in getting an answer from you. I know it's been tossed around a million times in your career. Jazz, R&B, or funk? What genre, I put my air quotes up, does Patrice Rushen, I mean, I kind of feel like you wouldn't want to be in a box, but you've been, I remember Arista wanted you to be damn near pop. But where do you find yourself fitting in terms of genres or not?
Well, I have done music that fits into many different, I'm using air quotes now, categories.
Yes,
I don't really, I think the category area for me, now it's not for everybody, but for me, has unfortunately been like, one would think that it would allow me to be in a lot of different spaces selling records or whatever the limits were of marketing, that I would be able to be marketed here and there and here and there and here, because I've done a lot of different styles and different kinds of music.
Right.
But for a long time, it was a liability.
Yeah.
And there are times when it still is, surprisingly so. And it surprises me because most people in the world who wear shoes have a pair of tennis shoes, a pair of dress shoes,
right,
and probably some flip-flops.
Right.
Yes, and when they put on whatever shoe they're appropriate in, they wear the outfit and the other things to make it appropriate when they go into those spaces. But who they are in terms of their essence as a person doesn't keep changing.
Right, right.
You don't suddenly become, maybe some people do, but most people don't suddenly become somebody completely different when they wear flip-flops.
Right.
Then when they wear their dress shoes. They're the same person. It's just that today I have on this, tomorrow I wear that. Still wearing clothes, shoes. Right. So we apply it to everything else that we do. I don't know why it's so difficult to apply it to the music. Now, I do get this. I do get that there are maybe people who say they are a certain thing and they aren't authentically that thing, because maybe they became that thing in order to fit into another thing.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And that's a little bit different from somebody who organically likes those things and wanted to know and took the time to understand more of the essence, the nuances of each thing. Now, anybody can have a preference for what they do best, but that doesn't mean that they can't do multiple things well.
Right.
So when you ask me, where do I fit? Music. And when it's all said and done, the idea of being able to use the entirety of what that means as a means of expression. And some days it looks like tennis shoes, and some days it looks like dress shoes.
Right.
Some days it looks like flip-flops.
Right.
But it's all an expression of a certain kind of joy, and hopefully a way in which multiple people, in terms of where they're coming from and what they're about and where they find me, there'll just be that many more people that enjoy it. and they'll find me in different spots and in different places.
Wow. I'm just listening and absorbing and learning. This might be a hard one for you, but I just felt like I had to ask, especially me sitting here with all these in my hand, right? Favorite, just try. Favorite Patrice Rushen song and favorite Patrice Rushen album. And I'm gonna pluralize those.
Okay.
Just in case. I mean,
song is hard. Song is really hard because that's like, each one has its own, meaning or its own memory, set of memories in terms of recording and all of those kinds of things. So that's a very hard one. But I will say without a doubt, the ones that taught me the most, I can say that. Actually, the first album taught me a lot because there's a certain kind of balancing act that I think most performers have to find, where they are at once very confident and at the same time very self-conscious and even intimidated. And that balancing act doesn't matter what form of art it's in. I think everybody finds their way to make that adjustment. And some people, as many times as they have been on the stage or have had, the red light go on in the studio or whatever, that there's still that place where you go, okay, calm down.
Right.
Calm down and try to focus and try to do your best. And you would think that, wow, you should be over it. You should just, it's like riding a bike, get on and do it. But it's not. It doesn't feel like that. So the first album was learning, no worries. The first album was the one to like feel that and have to learn to manage it.
Okay.
I had friends around me and I had heroes who were part of the music vocabulary that I really respected, and we were playing on the same record, and it's like, okay, that can kind of undo your brain just a little bit, but you learn to manage it. And the other album that taught me the most was Straight from the Heart, because that's the album that had Forget Me Nots on it.
Right.
And that tune was not received by the record company very well at all. In fact, the whole album, they said that the album was like, okay, we don't know what we're gonna do with this. There's no hit.
Really?
Nothing on here. Nothing. We don't know what we're gonna do. You should never produce or co-produce yourself because there's nothing here that we can do anything with.
Wow.
And that was the album where we, and I say we because it wasn't even at that point a team, between myself and Reggie Andrews, Charles Mims, Freddie Washington, people who had worked on these other albums with me, and everybody, all the other performers who had performed on the albums subsequent to that. We had seen it almost get to a place where it was going to turn over in terms of being accepted in such a way that touring and those kinds of expenses that record companies used to justify in terms of being able to help you do it, you needed to sell a certain number of records in order to do it. People just didn't automatically tour.
Right.
The record company, you needed seed money to get started. Touring is expensive. It's always has been. Yes, and you need money to get out there.
Right.
And that's what part of what the record company's function was, but you had to have a proving ground. Well, if you keep coming just shy of the proving ground that their criteria, it's hard to get off the ground. And when you start to find out that, there needs to be outside influence as to the value, if there is any, of this music. And at that point, the qualifier was two things: radio, and record sales, airplay, and then how things began to turn over in the stores. And if you could get those two things in harmony with what the criteria was, and the record company would help you out. If you didn't, you were on your own. Well, we didn't know that for a long time, but by the time we got to
excuse me,
by the time we got to Straight from the Heart, we knew.
Mm.
And we said, okay, they have just told us that they're not going to do anything. So our next order of business was to be able to determine, so what can we do?
Right.
We can make people love it if they don't, but you got to get it in front of them so that they at least have an opportunity to decide.
Right.
So that's what we did. We pooled our resources and did some independent promotion.
Okay. Wow.
And that's what got it started, and we never looked back. It got to the people, and the people took care of it. So that was the big lesson, to be able to stand behind what you think and what you feel and what the people are telling you and all the other indicators, to be able to stand behind it and follow it through. The results may be nothing, but you know there'll be nothing if you don't do something.
Right.
So that was the big lesson.
That's it. I mean, I'm looking at the track listing because I'm still just a little nervous. So I don't want to jumble my thoughts and everything. But I mean, Remind Me was from that album. Forget Me Nots obviously was from that album. But so wasn't two of my favorites, All We Need and Where There Is Love. I mean, wow. Okay. Mm.
Now, in today's marketplace, that album would have never seen the light of day.
Why do you feel that? I mean,
Well,
of course,
because
there's no promotion departments or anything.
there's
Right. That's okay.
so to be able to be challenged about how you're going to market things and how you're going to get things out, and if this, then that doesn't exist anymore. You can do all of the things, and still the then, if this, then that is not necessarily there. But even before we got to the place where people pretty much are having to do so much entrepreneurship and, figure out their game plan and their marketing plan, the standard for what was successful was different back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
And if you spend X number of thousands of dollars on your record, they had to see that come back. And we're talking, tens of thousands of dollars at the very least, and sometimes more when you talk about strings and horns and all the kinds of things that were a part of that sound back in the day. So, that it probably would have been judged under a much different microscope,
Yeah. Wow. So, okay, this is another weird one, I guess. If you had to pick one of the between recording, being recording in the studio, and you being a complete musician, I know this is going to be hard for you. Playing live, in other words, doing concerts and tours, and teaching, because I know that you do a lot of teaching. Romeo, our mutual friend, talks about you all the time in terms of your teaching. Which would you say that you enjoyed most? Recording in the studio, touring, or teaching?
Boy, that is really, really hard.
I hope when I put these questions together that they generate great conversation and you give such great dialogue. So it's awesome.
I don't know if I could do any one of them well without the other ones.
Okay.
Now, I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but if I'm a good teacher, what makes me a good teacher are the experiences that I have had as a performer, and the precision that happens from spending a lot of time also in the studio. What has made me more precise in the studio is the fact that playing live and being able to do something on command and in tune and all other things because the studio environment is not forgiving at all.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Every little thing, it's going to happen, be magnified.
Right.
So the execution and being able to get that feeling of what you get live, but to put it into a more precise situation, I think I learned a lot about that from playing live. conversely, I learned a lot about how to get good sonics live from all of the work in the studio.
Yeah.
When I'm programming sounds, when I'm putting an instrumentation together for a band for a show, when I'm teaching, when I'm voicing certain arrangements or orchestration or something like that. It's largely from the idea of what creates interesting aural, AURAL, enjoyment from the time spent in the studio experimenting with that. So one thing enhances the other one. Case in point, there are a lot of wonderful people who do really great recordings. And these days, you know, everybody can record and do something. But after you paid your $50 or your $150 to go see them, how many times can you see them just walk across in front of the stage? Learning to perform is a part of the delivery of this part of the art.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you've never done that, but you've only been in the studio, you can imagine some of the working that goes on in the studio to manufacture this performance, because when they have to go out and do it on command right now, even if they're able to pull it off from the standpoint of the sonics, you're bored after about 20 minutes.
Right. Correct. Yes,
conversely, you'll have people who spend a lot of time with the bells and the whistles and the smoke bombs and the confetti and the this and that and 50 dances and blah, 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 blah. But musically speaking, you're not excited. After you've seen it, it's like, well, what was the entire experience? You know, music is meant to be experienced.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, one does each element, each part of it has the potential to enhance the other. And I've been really fortunate. I also didn't have to, at the same time that I was learning how to do something, I didn't have to feel I wasn't compelled to have thousands of eyes looking at it all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be my worst nightmare. To have tens of thousands of followers. And I don't know how to do the thing yet.
Wow, right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
And knowing how easy it is for a person to press delete.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I say all of that to say, as good and as much wonderful opportunity there is to get your stuff out there and to do that, you know, there's always a balancing act about what it is that you are sharing, how it is that you are sharing, and how well you do the thing. That's part of it too.
I have two more questions and I hope we don't get cut off. Dream collaborations. Quite frankly, I'm not going to prejudice your answer. I'm interviewing you. I'm just saying, I can't think of any person. No, that's not true. I have a lot of faves. I would love to have seen you and Prince do something together. I would have loved to see you and Janet Jackson do something together. You and Phil Collins, but that's just me. Dream collaborations.
Although you named a few of them. Prince and I did not have an opportunity to record together, but I did work with him, you know, on his first record. And then I worked with him again when Batman came out. He did the 15th anniversary of Saturday Night Live and asked me to come and play. So I did that. You know, we had a lot of conversations. We talked a lot, you know, over a period of time, not constantly every day or anything like that, nothing like that. But over a period of the different eras of his professional career, we had some pretty amazing and wonderful conversations. So I cherish that.
Sidebar, I only got 8 minutes left on this damn thingamajig, but I went to Paisley Park a couple of years ago, took a tour, met one of the security guards. This year, and I think next month, they're naming the expressway in front of Paisley Park after him. I just thought you should know that.
Oh, wow. That's
It's Prince
awesome.
Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway. Yeah.
Oh boy, that's great.
Yeah.
Good. There's so many, when you talk about collaborations, I just about anybody that you could name, I would be like, oh, that might be cool. That might be cool, because you don't know. Each thing yields something that's bigger than each thing. It becomes another thing.
Right.
So there are a lot of different people that I really, admire, of course, and it's easy to hear those influences in what I've done and what I continue to do. So I'm always having fun, and I'm up for just about anything.
Hmm. Okay, my last question. I guess I'm gonna have to send you a long list of questions. I'm just kidding. I've heard you say, I don't know if it was on your Unsung or, I watch everything related to Patrice Rushen, so it could have been a YouTube interview. You actually didn't feel that you were as strong a singer as you are a musician. I remember hearing something to that. Obviously, I'm misquoting you, but
well, first of all, let's clear up something.
Mm-hmm.
Singers are musicians.
Yes, ma'am.
Their instrument is their voice.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so putting my answer to your question in that context and in that framework, my strongest instrument for a very long time was the piano. That's the one that I started on since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Now, I sang, but untrained, and definitely with, just from the standpoint of musicality, the voice was used usually to illustrate, demonstrate, participate in a musical idea.
Got you. Okay.
Okay. So as time went on, that's the way that I thought about it. Love to sing, enjoy it, love to sing with other people, harmonize it and stuff. I was always good at that kind of thing. Love that kind of stuff. But in terms of a singer and putting in the same kind of focus with that I had put in at the piano and learning to write, I wanted to be a composer.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to write songs and compose for film and television. So my emphasis in terms of musicality was about arming me to be able to cover all of that different ground, vocals being one of several areas that allowed for me to have all of these different colors in my paint box to be able to illustrate a composition, whether it was a song or something for a symphony. It turned out that in writing certain kinds of things, I ended up singing them. And people happened to like it.
Sure did.
Who knew?
Sure do.
So I've continued to try to incorporate that idea in the songs that I write and some of the music that I do. And certainly from the standpoint of performing, it adds another color, another dimension to the compositions and the kinds of things that I do. But that's why I qualified it in that way. Okay. Is that for a very long time, it was an added tool.
Got you. Well, the timer says 5 minutes. I'm sure you have a million things to do anyway, so I won't pull any more of your time reluctantly. I'm going to send you some questions in the email. I'll just request some photos. I just really, really want to thank you, Ms. Rushen. You have no idea how much your music has meant to me. I listen to you pretty much every day at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my computer typing, and I'm listening to Didn't You Know, which I wrote you a whole letter about that, Where There Is Love. Message in the music, so much. Your songs have been a huge soundtrack to my life. And for that, I thank you so very much. I think it's very important for musicians to know how the impact that their music has on individual lives of people that they may have never met. June 15th just passed. That is the anniversary of my father's death. He was murdered in Boston in 1996. June 15th, the day that he was killed, was actually the day before Father's Day. So it was rough. And Where There Is Love is a song that I always listen to on that particular day, because although Where There Is Love is obviously a love song, ostensibly for a significant other, when I listen to it, I think of my dad. Wherever you're at, I still love you. And I really appreciate you composing that song, and so many others. You were truly appreciated, you were truly adored, and I super hope, that doesn't make any sense. I really hope that I get to see you perform soon enough.
Yeah, well, you know, the different venues that are in the area, let them know. Where would you like to see me? And you need to tell them. And as a journalist, you see, you have a little more depth, because you can say, you know what? You should really be having her in here. What's up with that?
Right.
Have you reached out? You know, because clearly, you know, now that's one of the areas that I would like to be able to revisit, because so many people are responding to this music, but they haven't seen it perform.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
So I would love to get out and do that.
Yes. I
Which is
mean,
the whole idea.
I went literally when you were at Berkeley. I spent weeks trying to figure out how to get in and blah blah blah. Finally, Sue or Claire helped me out. And I literally got off the bus from New York City about an hour before you went on, or an hour before the program started, and I left the very next morning. I had to see Patrice Rushen. Had the opportunity.
Well, I hope you'll have a chance to see my show, because one of the things that is fun, I love playing with the kids, but I was playing with the kids. Yeah. Can I play with some? So, yeah, you know, I've done a lot of gigs. Nice. I was the side person with a lot of my friends who are all very accomplished and doing a lot of wonderful things. But I haven't done it under my own name. Yeah. And so now's the time. Yes, ma'am. Well, I will definitely be knocking on some Philadelphia doors, some Boston doors, some New York doors. There you go. And I guess I will send the email to Mark. Yes, and I'll get it, and then I can go ahead and answer everything for you. Okay. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to thank you just for being you, and for giving the world stacks of, and I ain't even got everything. I got to find it. Of music, and I appreciate you. You have a wonderful day. Have a great show. Your show's in LA coming up? I've got a show in the next one that I have is, where's the next one that we're doing? We're doing San Jose. Okay. Well, my uncle lives there. Okay, cool. Well, so I'm playing the San Jose Jazz Festival there. San Jose, I gotta tell him. And that's in August like the 13th, I think is the date. Yes. Prior to that, I just came back from Detroit. I know that's just a little too far for me. Yeah, that's a different. Just a little bit. But you know, like I said, you know, start putting that pressure on folks. It's like, okay, we need a little run up in here. We need to do, you know, what's up? So that's a promise, because I love coming in, just knocking it out and go home. But yeah, to make a run, and because there's so many wonderful places to play and wonderful fans, like you said, DC, Philly, you know, Pittsburgh, New York. Yeah. You know, I would love to come. Boston, I'd love to come. Thank you so much, Ms. Rushen. Thank you, and I will definitely stay in touch. Thank you. All right, great to see you. Same here. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, take care. Have a good one. Bye. Okay, how do I